By now, I've added all the screens we're going to have for our adventure game. So there's 10 in total. So I'll just take you through them. So these are the start screen. We've got the forest one here. So I'll take you all through these. And you can see on each one I've put some text, a text area, and I've put buttons. Either there's one button or two buttons if there's a choice on each of those screens. So that's the part of it, the design of it. That's how it looks at the moment. The other thing we can do at this point as well is to name our project. So I'm just going to give this the name here, so we can simply add our project title here. So let's call it adventure game. I'm going to call this adventure game. In fact, let's just put the full thing in, text based adventure game. So there we go. So we can save that like so. So now we've got a sensible name for our game there. And yes, that's our design completed. Now the other thing to note about the design as well is just to make sure the ID, I've give all the elements sensible names. This takes a bit of effort and time, but you need to put ID, especially for the buttons, to give them really sensible names, and also the names of the screens as well. So for this button here, for example, I've just specified it, the screen it's on, and so on. So once you've done all that, you can then add the code in. So we can add the code in as before. I've removed the code which I added previously, so let's start again, and I'm going to put in some of the relevant code here. So on event here, and we're going to have lots and lots of these. So essentially, for every button, we'll have one of these things, one of these on events here. If you look at the overall path structure of our games, this is it here. You can see each of these rectangles represents one of the screens. The arrows represent how we're going to link them together. So the button from our start screen, for example, is going to take us to the screen for the edge of the forest. And then from the edge of the forest, we can have two buttons. One is going to go towards the cave, the other one's going to go to the forest, and so on. So we need to ensure that our buttons are taking us to the correct screen. Let's now go back to our code here. So to begin with, then we've got our welcome screen, I suppose that's the best way of describing it, or start screen here, and that is going to go to, if you look on this, it's going to take us to the edge of the forest. So let's now set our screen. So we want to set screen now to be the screen forest. So there we go. Next one, so we need to again put another one of these events in here. And so now from screen forest, now this is where we need to ensure we know what the buttons are. So the button on screen forest is here, because I've labeled it in such a way that we've got two buttons here, and it has the number 2 here, which corresponds to the screen we're on, which seems to me to be a sensible way of labeling your elements so that you know what screen they're on. So we've got the screen for the cave, so that'll take us now to set screen to our cave, like so. And we can just keep adding our components and just keep adding them until we've created this path here. We've got all the correct buttons going to the correct screens and so on. So we just keep adding those in, and eventually we'll get there and have our completed set of codes there. So essentially, it's just keep on adding all these on events for every button that we have.